I'm gonna be 100% honest here. There's a trainee here in the top 9 that I don't think should be there.
I'm saying I don't wanna come down from your love. We'll get lost together, let me find. Don't ever let me come down from your love. From your love, from your love.
Hey everyone, it's Bree-Seasony here, and welcome to another Boys Planet video. Today we're going to talk about episode 2 of Boys Planet. Like my last video, first I'll rank the rest of the star level test performances, then I'll get into discussing the episode, talking about some of the highlights, and lastly I'll discuss the live voting results that we saw at the end of the episode, and finally I'll give you my top 9 picks. First, I want to thank my channel members, Kaylin Caster, BB Fawn, Vermilion, Night Skinny Honjin, Silent Night, Sarah, Kia, Alice Loves Cherry, and Misa. Thank you guys so much, as always, for supporting the channel. I really appreciate you all, and I really hope that you like this video. So without further ado, let's get right into it, starting with my rankings.
네가 나의 곁을 떠나 다른 사람에게로 볼만한 멜로드라마 괜찮은 결말 그거면 됐다 It's magical 매일매일도 원해 Bloom bloom pow 너와 꽃이 피어나 물들여와 너무 예뻐 그녀를 보면 나는 미쳐 하지만 이젠 지쳐 강한 확신의 나 이제 알아냈어 너의 perfect 바란 메디아 나서 빠진 것처럼 저 메디아 한 남동요 and big legit Here on the gas teleportation Got me looking for attention 멀쩡한 날이 없지 왔다리가 다리나 사가지 바가지야 얄라리 얄라리야 Yeah Let's go 하예 하예 다 됐고 지겨우린 누나 누나 Come on give me some give me some give me some give me some more Are you looking for 원하겠어 뜨겁게 터져버릴 것 같은 내 심장 Yeah 노래 가져 우리 봐 우리 집을 봐봐 다리다 다리다라 다리다 다리다리 Pink was the sundown When we pull up you know it's a shutdown
Okay, so let's talk about some of these performances. If you saw my last video, you probably remember that I ranked Jay and Camden's performance as my favorite performance from episode 1. I don't know what it is about episode 2, but for some reason, it was a lot easier for me to rank these performances than it was for episode 1. I think that there were just some groups here that really stood out amongst the rest of the trainees. Hui's performance of Shutdown is by far the best star level test performance in my opinion. The high note that he belted out blew me away, and I think he shocked everyone watching, including the judges. His rearrangement of Shutdown was amazing and really suited his style, and I loved how he made the choreo a bit minimal, but it really allowed him to show his vocal talent. He definitely knows his strengths here, and he's working with that. Hui ended up getting a standing ovation, but the funny thing is, when it was time for the judges to evaluate him, they took some time to talk amongst themselves. And I think this was just for Mnet to build anticipation, because what was there even to discuss after that performance? Even the trainees whispered that he had to have gotten All-Star, but eventually the judges came back and they did give him all 4 stars. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you might know I'm a huge A-tiny, so I was excited when I realized K-Group Wake 1 was covering The Real. I was wondering how it would go because The Real is a song that really showcases ATEEZ's color as artists. Plus, ATEEZ is known as 4th gen performance kings, so I was really curious as to how the trainees would interpret the song. But let's just say K-Group Wake 1 exceeded my expectations. Park Han-bin really got to shine. His expressions, charisma, dancing, and vocals were all great, and as I'm recording this, I think I'm gonna have to add him to my top 9. I think he's one of those ace trainees who kind of has it all, kind of like the other Han-bin, Sung Han-bin, and he definitely deserved the all-star rating that the judges gave him. Kim Taerae also really surprised me. He's got to be one of the best vocalists in the competition, and his performance of The Real was flawless. I was shocked and disappointed that he only got 3 stars, especially since there are so many good dancers in this competition but not many stellar vocalists. I just hope he's able to move up in the ranks. I'm really rooting for him. As a jiwoong stan, I of course have to briefly talk about the melodic cover. Now that I think about it, I think melodic has been the only sexy concept so far, and the judges definitely made light of that, especially joking about how jiwoong didn't have a shirt on under his suit jacket and flustering him in the process. I think the performance was really good, the dancing was great, and like the judges mentioned, I really liked how Jungwoo decided to sing an octave lower at the beginning of the chorus. I didn't expect that at all, and it was really cool. Despite some of the vocal instability, I thought the performance was pretty solid, and since Jiwoong is still my first pick, I was happy that he got the spotlight during the star level and ended up getting 3 stars, which isn't bad at all. After all of the star level tests were done, everyone's star ratings were counted up, and K Group ended up winning over G Group with a score of 119 to 81 stars. Since K Group won the star level test, they secured the benefit for this round, which was hearing the star signal song or theme song titled Here I Am a day earlier than G Group, thus giving them 1 extra day to practice. This was a huge advantage because obviously getting an extra day can make a big difference. On top of that, a lot of the G Group trainees struggle with Korean since for many of them, it isn't their first language, so I can imagine how getting the lyrics down with 1 less day than K Group could have really set some of them behind. The episode segued to the boys preparing for the star signal test. They needed to learn to sing Here I Am and to learn the choreo. The judges explained that the trainees who scored the highest would be towards the top of the stage, with those who scored the lowest would be towards the bottom and would have the least screen time. Whichever group, K Group or G Group, wins will get the highlight parts, and one of the all-stars from each winning group will get the killing part. The boys were tasked with either keeping their 4-star ranking from the star level test or attempting to gain stars if they had scored poorly before. The performance version of Here I Am is already out. In fact, it was released on YouTube a month ago, so I'm assuming this kind of lets us know already who ended up ranking the highest and lowest. For example, Sung Han-bin and Zhang Hao seem to be the winners of K and G Group here, as they're at the very top of the stage, and we know they both ended up getting 4 stars for the star signal test because we learned that in this episode. Overall, like many of you have mentioned in the comments section of my previous video, I think the tone of Boys Planet has been mostly lighthearted and positive so far, especially compared to Girls Planet where the tone felt more intense and competitive. However, there were a few moments in this episode where the judges got a bit harsh with some of the contestants. You might remember Bak Doha, the K-Group contestant who gave us some comic relief with his performance of My House. While the boys were practicing Here I Am, Planet Master vocal coach Hanbyul came to check on them, and he was especially hard on Doha, who was having trouble singing the song and was pretty much off-key the entire time. Hanbyul literally asked Doha if he wanted to be an idol or an actor, and when Doha said he wanted to be an idol, Hanbyul essentially was like, "You should just act," and told him he wasn't a good singer. While I acknowledge that Doha's singing was not good, I feel really bad for him because he's a pretty charming dude, although I'm not voting for him because I feel there are tons of contestants that are way more skilled. It was just hard to see him getting obliterated like that in front of the other trainees. Doha did try his best during the signal test, but he ended up remaining a no-star trainee. He was understandably upset, but Sung Han-bin comforted him, which was a really sweet moment. The judges were also really tough on Yujin, which was really hard to watch since he's one of the youngest contestants at only 15 years old. He did really well during the star level test where his group performed Kick It, but he struggled with the choreo of Here I Am as well as singing. In the episode we also saw that Yujin was sick, so I'm thinking this probably contributed to him not doing well. Obviously if he's really sick, he probably won't be able to concentrate on dancing and learning the choreography, and I wonder if that could have potentially affected his voice as well. The episode actually ended without revealing his entire star signal test, but it seems like he made a mistake and broke down, but we'll have to wait until next week to see exactly what happened. The judges were also pretty tough on Hui. Hui had trouble with the choreography, and one of the judges actually called him out for it during their practice. But Hui asked the other trainees for help, which showed that he doesn't think he's above them in any way, and he's very humble. Sadly, he dropped from All-Star and was ranked 3 stars after a signal test because he forgot some of the lyrics, and the judges felt that his dancing was lacking. This was especially heartbreaking to see because of one of the scenes that we saw earlier, which I forgot to mention. When Hui was about to perform his star level test, the judges asked him why he decided to join Boys Planet. And he essentially explains that after he was discharged from the military, he came back to join Pentagon, and he saw that a lot had changed. He realized that when Pentagon was reaching out to work with certain people, whether it's artists or producers, he didn't say, he found that people were declining. Pentagon was facing rejection and nobody wanted to work with them, and Obviously, that had been taking a toll on him and the members, so joining Boys Planet was kind of like his last hope to help Pentagon out of the rut they seem to be in. So, especially with that in mind, I hope that Hui is able to do well in this competition. I think it's so obvious that he's one of the most talented people competing, so it's not just a matter of mnet giving some background and giving a sob story like they do sometimes do. Despite all of that, if you just look at his raw talent, he definitely deserves to be here, so I hope that some of you will vote for him because I know I am. Kim Taerae was also ranked 3 stars, which shocked me because even Vocal Planet Master Lee So-kun said that Kim Taerae is an all-star vocal. But sadly, he was ranked 3 stars because judges felt his dancing needed work, just like they said about Hui. To me, it seems like the judges are putting a lot more focus on dancing than people that are talented vocalists, and I'm not sure how I feel about this because it's not necessarily a test of who's the best dancer, but who can learn the choreography the most efficiently in a short amount of time. But that's just my opinion. Of course, as always, let me know what you think in the comments. There were a few trainees that improved greatly during the star signal test or kept their all-star rankings, which was great to see. First, I want to mention the Vietnamese contestant Kong, who performed View during the star level test. At the time, he was only voted 1 star, and it seems like the judges said a big part of that was his pronunciation of Korean. He's Vietnamese, and he struggled a lot with singing View because obviously Korean is not his first language. But during his star signal test, he actually improved from 1 to 3 stars. He has a great singing voice, like I mentioned in my previous video. He was able to improve his pronunciation, and his dancing was incredible, so I was so happy that he was able to improve, and I'm definitely rooting for him. Sung Han-bin absolutely nailed his signal test and improved from 3 stars to all-star ranking, which was so deserved. And I definitely can see that mnet is pushing the bestie rivalry thing between Han-bin and Sok Matthew, especially since Matthew performed right after Han-bin. Matthew ended up getting 3 stars and not 4, but I think he did very well too. Jay was actually struggling a lot during dance practice, but he worked really hard and was able to nail his test and kept his all-star ranking. Zhang Hao also kept his all-star ranking and wowed the judges, but Park Gun-wook, one of my top picks, was put on hold, meaning the judges hadn't scored him yet and were waiting to make a decision, and I think this was because they said his singing needed a bit more work. Takuto also improved, going from no stars to 1 star, and Sungwon went from 2 to 3 stars, while Jiwoong remained at 3 stars. Overall, this episode was really fun to watch, and like I mentioned in my previous video, I really like the star system. It's easy to follow and understand, and I'm so glad mnet dropped the cell system that they went with for Girls Planet 999. The episode ended with a teaser of Yujin's performance, and we also got a sneak peek of episode 3. A while back I made a video with performance spoilers that I thought were for the first episode, but it turns out these spoilers are actually for episode 3. Many of the songs that I mentioned were seen during the preview. I tried to decipher the mashup of songs that we saw here in the preview, and to me it sounds like the boys will be performing Kill This Love, Aju Nice, Hot Sauce, Movie Star, Bak Doha, and Love Me Right. If you watched the preview, let me know what songs you heard in the comments. So now I'll show the live voting results that we saw at the ending of episode 2, and I'll come back with my commentary on those results as well as my top 9. So first, let's talk about the top 9 from the live voting results. I'm gonna be 100% honest here. There's a trainee here in the top 9 that I don't think should be there. Some of you might be thinking Yujin because he performed poorly. While it's true that Yujin didn't perform well in the star signal test, I'm personally willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because he was sick. I know how hard it is to do basic tasks when you're really not feeling well, so I can imagine how hard it was for him to focus and try to learn the choreography and sing. Personally, I would have to wait until next episode to see if he performs really well and makes a comeback before I write him off and say that he doesn't deserve to be in the top 9 because I know he is an amazing dancer and maybe if he isn't the strongest singer, he can improve. The trainee who I think should not be in the current top 9 is daeul. I think daeul has been pretty popular since the beginning, and to be honest, I don't really understand why. I think a lot of people are voting for him because he's cute, and they're not really looking at his singing or dancing. I thought he looked very stiff while dancing to replay during his star level test, and he didn't do well during the star signal test either. His vocals are also not on par with some of the other trainees in his top 9, like Hui, Jae, and Han-bin. I noticed that in the live voting results, Park Gun-wook came in rank 10. It would have been great if we could have at least switched daeul and Gun-wook's ratings, with Gun-wook being rank 9 and daeul being 10. And feel free to disagree, but I just don't think that daeul is one of the most talented idols in the competition. I don't think he should be in the top 9, at least with what we've seen so far. If you're curious, here's what my top 9 looks like. Not really in any specific order, except Jiwoong being number 1, of course. But my top 9 has changed a lot since my top 9 video that I made a while back before the show premiered, but this is based on everything I've seen since the content we've gotten before the show aired until now. There are also a few other trainees that I like a lot that aren't listed here, but if I had to pick a top 9, this is it. Of course, as the show progresses and we see more and maybe people are eliminated, this will probably change, but if you've made it this far, please leave your top 9 picks in the comments. So that wraps it up for the video. Those are my opinions on episode 2 of Boys Planet. As always, in the comments, I want to know what you think. Let me know what you thought of episode 2 in the comments. Let me know if you have any predictions for episode 3, and also who your top 9 picks are so far. Has anything changed for you as far as your top 9 from episode 1 to 2? Let me know, I'd love to hear about it. Also, feel free to check out my Discord server if you haven't already. We actually have a thread dedicated just to Boys Planet, and we always talk to each other about the episodes. We keep each other up to date, so it's a great place to talk about Boys Planet or K-pop in general because it is a multi-fandom server. So if you do want to join, I will leave the link in the pinned comment. Thanks again for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more Boys Planet content, and I'll see you in the next video.